the last days, I got a lot of questions about CVs in Germany. And I've already done one video on applications in general and what they should look like. I've decided to provide you with an example of a CV to make it a bit more understandable what I'm talking about when when I talk about formatting and contents and so on. I think that'll make it a bit easier for you to adapt your CV to German standards. And I guess you all have a lot of time now to brush up on your application if you are sitting in a lockdown due to Corona. So let me share my screen with you. My team and me, we have come up with a fake CV, so this person doesn't really exist. So just to start, some general facts. The CV should not have more than 2 pages. Sometimes that's a bit of a challenge if you have a senior profile, but it's doable. And there are some things you can do to shorten your profile. But in general, as you can also see here, not more than 2 pages. That's a really important fact. Then I think the structure really matters. So you should keep in mind that a recruiter has maximum 3 minutes, usually only 1 minute to screen your CV. And that's the first thing the person will do. And usually when I screen CVs, I always look at the job descriptions and the qualification criteria we are looking for, and then I look at the CV. So I have to be able to match this immediately and see right away whether this person is a fit or not. So make sure you have a proper, well-structured CV. You can put your personal data on top. So name, of course, address. Here it's really important to be honest about where you are based. I've heard it from a lot of people that they're using kind of fake addresses, pretending that they are living in Germany, and I can only say that I think that's not recommendable. Better be honest about it because they will find out eventually anyways. Contact details, very, very important, should be there both on your CV and your cover letter. And date of birth and place of birth. I mean, you can decide whether you want to put your date of birth or just your age, or and even leave out the place of birth. Personal decision. There are people who also include marital status or visa status or other details. That's up to you to decide. If you hold a visa for Germany already, I think it's of great help if you include this kind of information, because then the company will probably understand that it's easier to recruit you and that it's easier for them to get a visa for you. Picture is also something we get a lot of questions about very often. Here you can see that we left it empty because it's a fake CV, so there is no picture of this person. In general, here it's still very common to have photos on your CV. I mean, there are startups or also other companies who are practicing a kind of more neutral way of choosing people, where they say it should be more anonymous, but I can only say that there are still a lot of companies using it. If you include a picture, it should be a very professional one and make sure that it fits to the company culture. So you can check out social media and so on. Just make sure that it's not like a, I don't know, a photo which was clicked somewhere when you were out for dinner or somewhere. So it should be professionally done. So let's move on to the next part, professional experience. That's the most important part from my point of view, especially if you're a more senior person and not a fresher or a graduate. So it should always be in chronological order. Same goes for education. I mean, that's the case for every part of your CV. And the most recent position should be on the upper part. So that it's easily visible for the recruiter to see, just to figure out where you are working right now, what you're doing right now, and also what you are in charge of. Here you can see that Niha has included 5 bullet points defining what she's doing in her current position. That's, from my point of view, the maximum of content which should be there as an explanation or description of the current role. Can also just be 3 bullet points. So 3, maximum 5, absolute maximum. Then what's also important is that you can see right away which company it is also and where the company is based, because in this case Niha is already based in Germany, so that's of great help, of course, for finding a job here. and she has given some description of what she's doing. In an ideal case, this is matching with the job post she's applying for. So I can only recommend you to invest time in adapting those bullet points as well, especially if you have a senior profile. That's a way to shorten your profile and to just select the information which is most relevant for this job post you're looking at right now. If you have too much professional experience and you cannot fit it on 1 or 2 pages, you can always mention selected on the upper part. So that's what we've done here. Means that Niha has left some of the information out, maybe some previous positions she was holding during her studies. So that's a way of showing that, okay, I actually did more than that, but I've decided just to include the most selected information which is relevant for you. That's an okay way to do it. And you can still give, like, add certificates or other information, or just mention the position, the additional positions down here without describing what you were doing, if you have a very long history of professional experience. Education is the same. Most recent one, the most recent part should be on the upper part. In this case, since Niha is still a junior, it was very helpful to include some of the classes she has attended. So that's something I recommend, especially if you're a student or a graduate, and you're applying for a job and you feel that you don't have enough professional experience yet. You can showcase some of the courses you attended with, which are matching with the kind of qualification the company is looking for. And that's a good way of showing what you actually learned during your studies, and that you have invested time in going through the job post and trying to understand what they're looking for, and that you think you are able to cover this. So that's a good way of doing it, especially if you are in a tech domain like Niha is. Yeah. And then high school graduation, you don't really have to mention it. I mean, if you're a younger person, it's fine, you can mention it, but you don't have to. If you hold a degree from abroad, then, and you have not studied in Germany yet, then it's very important to include information on whether you got your degree recognized yet or not. So if you have this kind of ZAB certificate, if you have this kind of certificate, include this information in your CV, because companies who are experienced with relocation will know that this will speed up the visa process. If you have already studied in Germany, it doesn't really matter, because then all that matters is your German degree, which you're holding in the end. So then in that case, you don't need it. At the end, so we have personal data, professional experience, education, and then at the end, it's always about additional qualifications. So if you're international, applying for a job in Germany, you should definitely mention language skills separately. Very important, and I often see that people forget mentioning that, especially if you're learning German. This should be mentioned separately, and include the level of certificate you're holding, if you have any certificates. So here, this has been done very nicely, English, German, Hindi, with mention of the certificate. Then you can also mention additional qualifications if you have attended trainings, like here it's a Linux system training. Should mention when you did the training, or you don't have to do that, but it's helpful. Also, sometimes, I mean, if you're a student, if you did like some extra classes which were not part of your usual study program, you can also mention them. That's always helpful. And then voluntary work is also always a nice add-on, or if you received awards or other things. Some people also mention hobbies. If you have a special hobby, that's also helpful to mention sometimes, because it's a good topic for kind of, let's say, small talk when you walk into an interview. So I think it helps. It's like an icebreaker. So you can add that if there's something you would like to add. Yeah, so that was it on the content. As I said, maximum 2 pages, try to shorten it. It should always be a PDF format like the one here, and make sure that you're using only one font type. So here I think it's Calibri, and you can see that this has been used for the whole CV, and it should also be used for the cover letter. Then it should be one font type for both of them. And here you can see that we only use 2 font sizes. So one smaller one and one bigger one. This makes the CV look very lean. And you can add on design elements like this here has been kept very, very simple. You could use a colored element, but make sure that it looks very lean and clean so that the recruiter can focus on the most important aspects, and that's your qualification. So that's what needs to be visible here. That's the most important aspect. Yeah, so that was it from my side. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, or if there's some additional content you would like me to cover, just leave us a comment, drop us a note on LinkedIn or somewhere else. But the easiest way is to comment here on our YouTube channel, and we'll be happy to cover that.